Welcome everyone to the February edition of the CentOS board meeting. I'm happy to report we have all board members in attendance. First item, if anyone needs it, is a link to last month's minutes, which is basically the agenda with us typing in it. The first item I have is highlights from the FRCL meeting. Let me... Yeah, Troy?
What does that acronym stand for?
Fedora.
CentOS.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Fedora RHEL CentOS leadership.
Oh, okay.
It was a placeholder name.
Otherwise known as the FRCL.
To be honest.
But it's bad if we turn the R and the C.
Rearrange the letters.
No rearranging letters.
It's all right. We've been there.
Fine, it's the FRCL. Just call it the FRCL.
Yep, it's the FRCL. And I do not have the tab open in this browser for the meeting notes from that meeting. Does anyone happen to have those handy that we can put in the agenda? Thank you, Brendan. Let me just add that to the agenda real quick. Link. Let me bring it up. Hopefully it'll let me open it in Firefox. No. All right. I can solve this problem, I think. Alrighty, so just for the record, while I'm in Chrome, I cannot see all of y'all. So this was a document that was started by Brendan, for those who aren't aware of it. CentOS asked a couple questions in it. It looks like Fedora has not added anything yet. But while we were in Brussels, we added some notes. So a lot of the questions were visibility into deployment of resources and initiatives. What is the planning for near and long term, developer engineering, admin time, money, infrastructure, events, and travel. So like all the resources. Influencing of decisions, collaboration of where features should actually be added into the pipeline, if at all, and procedure for Red Hat ideas being implemented into the upstream. Challenges of events, where we hold events, who we sponsor, etc. Basically making sure the right people are in the room when we want to get folks together and having organized meetups between the leadership. Independent funding issues, transferring of funds to pay for sponsorships, foundation as a method for easing the issue, separation of how we develop. Some of that is related to FRCL. I'm not sure if transferring of funds to pay for sponsorships is, and a foundation as a method for fixing that. I do not know if it is FRCL related. Improved feedback loop. Who and what role of RHEL leadership and their participation? So not just putting people in a room, but putting the right people who can make decisions in the room. Standing participation from these people or designated replacement, short-term participants if needed. So if we're working, head down on something and we need to pull in somebody who's not a normal participant, the ability to get someone in, and the ability for participants to make actionable decisions on all sides. Just pointing out that volunteers you really can't assign work to, so you can't exactly cut in line and still follow process. So whatever process is in place should apply to everyone. Community drives the work. Red Hat contributions are multiplied by their efforts. Community is at the forefront and driving the future and should help show where we need to be heading. Now, I took these notes. I did check with the room that I was taking the right notes, but once I finish reading through, someone can definitely clarify anything. Also getting the experts at our community events, thought leadership. So the Freckle meeting was a good example. Did we have everyone that should have been in the room? Maybe not, but we had the best we could do. Ability to communicate FESCO and SIG Council decisions and why they are important to the community. Separation of budgets of engineers doing community and initiatives. And lastly, design and document how to add new projects, initiatives into the upstream communities, how to bring about change without it seeming that things are forced upon the communities, but work together so that both sides are in agreement and work through things getting implemented. Now I'm going to switch from the document back to you all. Hey, and that way I can also see the agenda. Does anyone who was at the Freckle meeting want to add in anything before? I'm sure Brendan's going to ask us questions. All right, Brendan.
Okay, sounds like a great list of stuff that we should probably talk about sometimes. So in the Fedora discussion, what has come out so far is that people would like to have conversations. They don't want to have another meeting, though. They were thinking maybe a podcast would be a great place to have discussions. But we haven't gotten into the level of, well, what discussions do we want to have and who needs to be there and whatnot. So this is a pretty cool list, actually. So the question in my mind is, what now, basically? So when we met up last time, like, hey, let's organize a big messy meetup ahead of FOSDEM. And now my thought is, what's the Fedora Council Hackfest? People are just getting back to their normal time zone now is over. So maybe the next step is, let's have a big messy follow-up conversation, like as a one-off for, hey, what do we actually want to do here? So that's kind of my inclination. I wanted to see board members. Is that still like a good next step for you? That big messy kind of pre-kickoff?
I will say that it was interesting to see that Fedora had a totally different view of they wanted to get out of this and what we wanted to get out of this. Because we want to have discussions and get things done, I think, if that's the view of everyone else, I think. And Fedora wanted to discuss and I think a podcast is showing results of something, not necessarily getting together and heads down working. Davida?
Yes, I very much agree that I think the value here is finding areas where we can do things better or where we should do things differently and getting alignment together on what we should be doing and executing on that. I don't think the value is particularly in doing promotion. I think we can do the promotion as one of the deliverables we do afterwards. But I think what we get out of this is improving things. And I don't think we necessarily need to address right now all of the stuff that was listed in this meeting. Amy did a great job condensing a very meandering meeting in a short list. But I think there is a lot of things that we should discuss and that we should figure out if we want to do something about it, what we should do about it, what should be the next steps. And I think it will definitely be valuable to have that conversation with Fedora as well.
Is there anyone from the CentOS board who does not feel like a meeting to get work done is where they think our next step is? Okay, so it seems like we're all in agreement that we do like the messy meetings, and we get work done out of them. So that at least is our viewpoint of where we would like to go next.
Okay, well, I think we need to get together to actually bring that to the fore. Unless you all want to jump in on the Fedora discussion, which you could totally do. But I think one of the reasons why this thing needs to exist in the first place is that everyone has home team advantage or visitor disadvantage because we don't have this thing at all. And so it does, to me at least, it seems wrong to say, oh, you should go talk to the Fedora people now. I think we have to kind of organize a three-way thing. Sean?
I would like to propose adding a time crunch factor on this. one of the nice things about FOSDEM Connect is that we had CentOS leadership there. We had a lot of CentOS people there. And we had some Fedora people there too. So it was really great. We could get Fedora and CentOS in a room together and talk. Not so much RHEL, you know, a little bit, but it's not where we see our RHEL leadership turn up. RHEL leadership does very much turn out at an event in Boston in May. And that's a really nice opportunity for maybe a proto freckle of some sort to have a lunch or a something. And so if we can make progress on it before May, I think that's a really good opportunity to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
And just to inform you, Brendan, we are planning on having a board face-to-face on the Sunday before that event in Boston. So a good number, not all, but a good number of the board will be in town for the week.
Current FPL is in that town too. We've got a few Red Hatters there also. Yeah, so I definitely think it would be wise and healthy to get groundwork laid ahead of that, so that that conversation, that live conversation, can not be like getting to know you, but like getting things done.
And we could even do a virtual getting to know you, just so everyone knows who the faces are, you know, walking into the room.
Yeah.
And that'll cut some of the awkwardness down. Davda?
Yeah, my suggestion would be to try to come up with some kind of like concise agenda, and we can try to work through the agenda and discuss the various points. And then we can also have the open-ended discussion like we had at the FOSDEM meeting. But I think there would be value in having focused discussion on, say, the points that we raised and specific points that folks on the Fedora side might be interested in raising and discussing, so that we can make actionable progress on those at least. Like, to be clear, my worry is that if we have an unstructured meeting, we hang out for 3 hours and we end up with another laundry list of things, but not much comes out of it. And it seems a bit wasteful given how rare it is that we can actually have this conversation in person in high bandwidth.
I agree. I think also that's kind of the importance of, we were asking who from RHEL leadership and what their role is. So we know what decisions we can actually make, or at least get rolling when we are together.
It really is domain specific, because we've got a lot of people leading lots of things, and there's a lot of chains in them. So, which just kind of goes to, hey, you should have an agenda in advance so you make sure the right people are there.
Okay. Would you want us to put the agenda together? Is that something you want to drive from your side? I mean, we can definitely work with anyone from FESCO who will be on site. First thing we'd probably have to do is decide when we were going to do this, especially far enough in advance to make sure folks travel aligned. We're planning an all day on Sunday. Summit goes part of the day on Thursday and not on Friday. And if we have to grab office space, we do have backups if Red Hat is booked. Jack and Davida both have offered their offices, but they're farther away. You know, so we also have that logistic to take into consideration when planning this. And we need to do a little bit of the planning sooner versus later. And then work on the agenda, I think. Just, deciding, if we're going to do this, the best day we think is X day. Okay, what office can we get on X day? All right, this is our plan. Now let's get an agenda. Because if we find out we can't meet anywhere, then it's like maybe we all go grab dinner one night. But if we can sit down for a couple hours and actually do some work, I think we'll get more benefit out of it. But that's going to take a little more planning and coordination before people start booking flights. Hotels can be changed, flights cannot.
Yeah. Sean, what day is the community day?
Monday the 19th.
Okay. So board meeting is Sunday, then community day, then main summit days. I wonder if the EBC is busy on Monday.
It would have to be Monday night. Because we've got Linux Track, and I've got, in addition to Linux Track, I've got Commons, and so, Sean?
Monday, they are this year opening the expo floor hall on Monday evening. It'll be like a booth crawl reception thing. So those of us working community day and working the expo floor, it's okay. You can go have a meeting without me, but I'm probably committed Monday night. Unless you want to go like after the booth crawl, we can go for drinks late Monday. That's cool.
You know what time that ends, Sean? The booth crawl?
I'd have to look it up. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay to do it after that. Just depends on what time that is.
Yeah, I might be able to get that quickly.
All right, while you're looking that up, Davida.
My only comment was that I think, again, on the note of trying to make this as productive as possible, I think it would be valuable to do this as an actual meeting rather than like a dinner or a lunch. I think we can also definitely do a dinner and a lunch as like a social thing afterwards, and we probably should if we have the opportunity. But like as the actual working session, combining that with food doesn't always go terribly well.
No, I agree totally.
Yeah. And for me, we know how conferences go. You don't get things done there, but you do pay down beer debt there. So it's really the pre-work that matters the most. So I'm thinking, what do we do the rest of February? What do we do in March? What do we do in April? Because like we're never going to have quorum. I don't think that'll be I don't think that's ever going to be a thing. And so we should take advantage of the not quorum events that we have. But if we limit ourselves to when we're all together in person at once, this could stretch on indefinitely.
No, it's definitely best case who we can get in the room. For example, we know we're going to lose Sean on Thursday. Even if we met on Thursday, we'll be without Sean. So we know people are going to leave, but if we can catch who we can, who does not have a commitment before they book the flights, it gives us a better chance of meeting. Sean, were you able to find that yet? I see you're looking.
I'm looking. I just have a deck for the community day, and I can't find a deck for the expo floor stuff. So I don't have it offhand.
All right, hang on. Switching to my other windows, so I'm staring off into space, y'all.
So, Amy, how much time did you want to spend on this topic today? Because I'm not sure if close this out.
We're at 3:23. So unless you have active questions for us, we're good. I just want to make sure we had answered any of your questions. Organizing a meetup we can do offline. Okay. It doesn't have to be in a meeting.
So I've got 2, possibly 3 questions. The first one is, I would like to do something in the next week or so that starts pulling us together for conversations ahead of anything that would happen at Summit. Okay. So is your preferred next step to be part of a very large email thread, part of a very large meeting invite, or is it something else?
I think either or works as long as you can find slots. Pat?
I'd be inclined to start with an email thread because you can always upgrade an email thread to a meeting, but it's not always workable to have the meeting without having had the email thread. Particularly, the more bodies you get attached to a meeting, the more it could have been an email, in my experience.
And that way, if you can't find a slot that works for everyone, and async works just as well.
Yeah, I do like async. Okay, then I have a few follow-ups to do inside Red Hat and with the Fedora Council, but I think then the right next step is to have an email thread outside of the confines of like a Fedora discussion on its systems, and we start from there. So I think we can all email one another without limitation. We all know each other's email addresses, so I will get that going.
And if you need anyone on the board's email address, just let me know.
Okay, will do. I know where to find you, Amy. Do any of you have any questions for me or additional things that you wanted to share?
But I guess I will share that it was a very positive meeting that we had, and everyone was looking forward to working with each other. So I think that's a good start.
All right. Well, then this next meeting can be an email. So there will be much rejoicing.
All right. Anyone have anything last minute for Brendan before we move on? All righty. Next item of business is the SIG Council discussion follow-up. Earlier today, a little late because I kept forgetting, 255 has been merged with 5 of 9 votes. I did not vote, and I usually do refrain from voting in case we need it as a tiebreaker. But overall, everyone who voted was a +1 on the wording changes that we had done. So we are good with that, and we are ready to start putting together the SIG Council. Now we do have some possible new SIGs in the works. One of them is going to present today. But next item on the agenda, if no one has any questions on the SIG Council, will be the GitLab update with Davida.
Yes, I'll keep this short. I just wanted to update you all. We've been doing a bit of work with the GitLab stuff in FRCL, and we started using it for systemd and a few other packages and testing. And in general, I would say everything mostly works as expected. So I don't foresee any like significant technical challenges with adopting this throughout. There's some conventions that would be useful to establish on how to use this that we're trying to put together with FRCL. Neil will gonna write up some of that. And ideally, I would like to, once we have these established, propose this as a thing that other SIGs can use, because it kind of makes sense for everyone to do the same thing here. But we don't need to be particularly prescriptive because the system is fairly generic as it is. The other thing we started looking in is leveraging testing farm for having access to CI runners as a way to get access to runners for doing builds more than just the ones that the GitLab itself provides, which can be useful for, like in the case of systemd, especially because the tests are very expensive. The only other thing left with GitLab is figuring out if we can actually do GitLab contract-wise, which Sean was trying to find a human to sort out.
Sean, do you want to report back on that?
I have a human. I've made contact with a human being at GitLab who has responded to me, and I can now pass along questions. So we'll get answers.
Okay. So I think we have 2 main questions: licensing, and if we're still considered under the same open source license that we are on their website on. And we should probably update our logo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and generally figuring out if there's any like usage limits or restrictions we should be aware of to not like accidentally DOS them or do bad things.
Does anyone have any questions, concerns on GitLab update? Troy?
I'm putting on my SEMP package maintainer hat. Do we want to change it on that? And if we do, can you put in the open issue for that for SEMP package SIG?
I know the general decision we were going was we weren't going to force anybody to move over who did not want to move over if it was going to disturb them. Davida?
Yeah, I would say for now, I don't think we necessarily need to change SEMP package. I think down the road, when this gets adoption from like more than a couple of SIGs, I would say, if that looks like the general direction we're going project-wise, then it probably makes sense to make it the default in some package and have some package be like kind of normative around it. But I think it's a bit early for that discussion now.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, next item. And Jeffro, I had asked you if you wanted to talk about your SIG as well, but you didn't respond. So we can add that after the fast track SIG, but let's go on to the fast track SIG that was opened up earlier today by Jonathan, and is going to be presented by Neil today.
Let's see. Hello. I guess Jonathan is here though. Is he going? Jonathan, you mentioned earlier you might be able to do this, or should I just still keep doing this? I mean, I can still keep talking about it instead. But
He mentioned he could talk. He could listen.
oh, okay.
Maybe he's somewhere he can't talk.
Okay. Then I guess I will go ahead and talk about this. And let's see. So the fast track SIG is essentially kind of an outgrowth of some of the work that we in FRCL have been doing, and some of the folks downstream, notably Alma Linux, has been doing, where when we identify bugs or need to update things to fix stuff, we send contributions upstream to CentOS stream. But it can take time for it to be responded to or merged or released or any of these other things. And, we figured it would be useful for us to have a place where when these contributions are sent, that they can be built and released to CentOS users essentially right away, because they often fix very real problems or enhance the experience in some way without breaking any interfaces or behaviors. And it's important, for contributors to feel like their work is actually useful. And while in FRCL, we've been doing this basically ad hoc by essentially building them in our tags and doing it, FRCL notably does not retain the CentOS stream ABI compat, and we upgrade things and whatever, and we use EPEL in our build route and things like that. But a lot of the more minor things that we do, like updating and backporting fixes and whatever, can be beneficial for the broader community. And so this idea is to make a SIG that essentially mimics the actual CentOS stream build environment, with minor tweaks, so that we can build these things early and release them to users while we wait for RHEL engineers to do something. And so that's kind of the pitch in a nutshell.
Hello.
Hey, Michelle.
Oh,
Michelle just
Sorry, I'm late.
bye.
Jack, before I turn it over to you, for those of you who were at the face-to-face in Rochester, I did get clarification from Davida earlier that this is very similar to what we were kind of throwing around the room as CentOS Plus. So it's not a totally new idea. Jack and then Johnny.
So I wanted to bring up the CentOS Plus thing, and then I just wanted to know, Neil, what are so when those types of contributions have come forward before, there's been friction sometimes between, whoever's maintaining it in RHEL and the people that are contributing the fix or the change. And sometimes they may not even make it in eventually. So what are the plans to handle things, and how do you propose, having some kind of framework to handle situations like that?
Neil, do you want me to take this? Or
Yeah, go for it.
yeah,
Michelle.
it's my name on the proposal anyway. So yeah, so we thought about this, and we want to require contributions, anything that makes it to the fast track SIG, to require having an MR against stream, just to say hey, this is something you intend to actually get in. regardless of whether it will get in or not. And basically, we're like, hey, like even if it doesn't get in, and like the stream maintainer does something else to fix the bug, we don't care, right? Like it's fine, like as long as it's fixed. So that's why I think in the proposal that got sent out this morning, we say we will make we will change our disk stack in such a way that anything built by us will be replaced by the next stream package, so that it should be a short-lived package, regardless of whether the fix is the same or not. So we encourage contributions. We don't expect there to be any expectation that stream accept the contribution, because it often doesn't happen, and that's fine.
Jack, does that answer your question before I go to Johnny?
It answers it sufficiently until now, but yes, go to
Okay,
Johnny.
go ahead, Johnny.
My question is actually very similar. I wanted to make sure that if we're messaging this as something that we're very clear that this piece is not necessarily not necessarily the direction that RHEL is going to be moving, because I think we need to be careful with expectations, because if we build something quickly, somebody contributes something, we build it quickly, it's a change, and that's all fine. But we don't want people expecting that that's going to be in the next update of RHEL, right? So we need to make sure that we're messaging this as additive community stuff that's not necessarily getting rolled in. It could get rolled in, and if it's a good update, and if the developers like it, and we prove that it works by getting it out to people and they see it, then that's a message that the customers can tell people if they want to, if it's working for them and it's providing stuff that's good for them, they can make that. But I think we want to be careful of the messaging, so that we're not making it look like it's a promise that this stuff is actually going to get rolled in, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think in some of that's why we scope it in such a way that we're saying this is only, bug fixes, not, we are not going to do like, hey, this is a major rebase, like a version jump. If you are using CentOS in production and you want bleeding edge stuff, then please use the hyperscale SIG, and, not this. This is more like things that are in because we feel that in hyperscale now we end up doing both of these things, and we want hyperscale to be focused on, having the latest and greatest systemd, and not, hey, there's a bug fix for this. And as to the concern that, there is an expectation that RHEL will also get this update. In some cases, the problem is that RHEL gets an update and Stream doesn't have the update yet, which is fine for those who use Stream for a development purpose, and not so fine for people who use Stream in production. So I don't think we see many cases where we are far ahead of RHEL, and RHEL customers are like, hey, when are we getting this? It's normally more the opposite.
Okay, I know Mike was next, then I'm going to go Tomas, and then I'm going to go Davida.
First, I want to say I'm a fan. It seems like a great idea. And obviously, I also agree with the messaging. That's got to be clear. But the criteria is a little open here. So can you talk a little bit more about where we want to draw the line in terms of what we pull in? Because it's clear from the proposal it's not every merge request. So is there a good sense of what sort of litmus test we want to have here?
Neil, you have an example of a fix that you want to get in, right?
Yeah, so I just threw a link into the chat about my merge request to GeoClue. to the GeoFlu package, to update it to a new point release, backport some patches, and actually fix it so that it can do location services again. Stuff like this is probably along the lines of that. I mean, another example of something along these lines would be, again, like a small feature or fix update that is reasonably likely to land in CentOS Stream itself, like this libei rebase, which allowed me to build some other things that we need, and is definitely eligible to go into CentOS Stream. The guiding line here is the same rules that apply for an eligible CentOS Stream contribution from a contributor is what we are going to use here for making it eligible for Fast Track. If something doesn't fit that guiding line, it obviously doesn't fit here in the first place. So in that case, then it'll go to another special interest group like FRCL, most likely FRCL, because that's kind of the line to take. If it is something that would be beneficial and is easy and reasonable for Red Hat to do unto themselves, if they had the time or the wherewithal or the knowledge, then it would be something to do. Like Davida done a few updates of like small utilities to add support for detecting more network hardware, for example. And those are things that I think also fit in there. And right, as Michelle mentioned in the chat, this is essentially bound to the ACG. So we're following basically the rules of the ACG here when it comes to determining what the dividing line is.
Okay, I guess my concern is that there might be arguments and anger about where we draw the line, and somebody has their pet MR and wants to know why we haven't pulled it in the fast track. If we don't just do every MR, that
Well, when it comes to MR eligibility, it doesn't actually matter, because if it's not eligible for fast track, it can be shipped in hyperscale or somewhere else. So there is a low chance that a contributor said, no, we're not building this at all. The question will always be, will generally be, not always, but generally be, which bucket does it fit in?
I think Mike's concern is more like, hey, I see an MR, like, why are we not building it? And I think the answer is that, well, if, we have limited, resources, and if you want to build something that we don't have time to, that is eligible, you're more than welcome to join and participate, right? It's the same with hyperscale. There's a bunch of stuff we can be doing there that nobody has time for, so it doesn't get done. But yes, I think you're right to set expectations.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
Manpower. Sorry.
I just want to say thank you for clarifying. I don't want my question to derail anything. I want to bring a couple things up. I think it's all a good idea. I just think there's going to be some important details to hammer out in implementation when we get there.
Mike, can you add the questions to the ticket so we can have a conversation
I can
in it as well?
I'll add a couple notes.
Okay. It was Tomas, Davida, then Johnny.
Yes, so I really like the idea, and again, I'm doing that internally anyway to push fixes that I need before they make it to stream. So that will be another thing I can contribute probably. I was just wondering if you plan to target stream 9 or 10 or both. What's your plan on that?
I think we initially have to do at least 9 and 10.
Okay.
At least, yeah, that's what personally I want to use.
Davida, then Johnny.
Most of what I had has been covered already. I just wanted to mention, in terms of making sure this is messaged correctly, I'm not as concerned because this is specifically framed as a CentOS SIG. SIG content is by design additive towards CentOS Stream. So I don't think there's that much of a concern that this sets expectation for may or may not show up in RHEL. Also, as Michelle mentioned, it's not like we're going to automatically build every single MR and shove it into the repo. There's going to be a human in the process to make a judgment call. And most likely, this is going to be the person that put up the MR is going to join the SIG and do the build, or is going to reach out to people in the SIG and ask, hey, can you please do a build of this? I think it will be useful. And then I think after a few months, it will be more clear where the line exactly is. For what it's worth, I'm not on the proposal, but I did give some input, and I've offered myself as a board sponsor for this, and I would definitely be interested in contributing because this is something that is useful, that will be valuable, I think.
Johnny?
And we're planning on doing this through GitLab, right? Is that true? As the driver for this, I just want to make sure as well that the two projects, the hyperscale project and this project, is easy to transfer information between the two, right? So if Neil says no, this is better worked on through hyperscale, that we have the capability of some kind of communication between those two groups.
Yeah.
So that we can make that happen. So that's one thing that I was concerned about. Another thing is that I'm concerned about is ELN currently is completely on Fedora infrastructure. And I'm now working in both the CentOS stream team and also the emerging rel team. And my workflow is completely different between those two things. And I know that sharing is not very easy, but it seems to me that hyperscale, a lot of the things that they want to do on hyperscale, that ELN could be very beneficial for that as well, for things that are already in rawhide / ELN. And that might be another thing that helps in the development as well, right? The more things okay, go ahead.
Sorry, yes, like to answer quickly, because Amy reminded us that we need to move on to other topics. For ELN, yeah, we do already leverage ELN. We have an ELN extras workload for hyperscale to track some packages that we want to build to make sure they are buildable in the next version of EL than one we are targeting in hyperscale directly. As for the other one, we had this meetup for hyperscale at CentOS Connect, and we are already planning to move hyperscale to use GitLab instead of the old Pagure instance. So like for fast track, we will be on GitLab from day one. So yes, it should be easy to move packages in between like hyperscale and like and fast track and the other way around.
Just one last point before we break on this point. I think it's important to bring in the spirit of FRCL or whatever we call it. I think we need to make clear what are the deliverables, especially in terms of security fixes. Just that everybody has the understanding that we will accept security fixes in advance of what could make or not make it to RHEL. I think because this is one of the value, but we need to be clear that it's a goal.
We don't want to mention security just in case that's a hot potato, but yes, security updates will be eligible for being built in FastTrack.
I'm fine not to mention it, but we should just say that it's for everything. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can say that.
Davide?
Yeah, I think by scoping this specifically to things that are contributable to stream are eligible here, and any security fixes are contributable to stream, and like unless something is embargoed, obviously, but for things that are not embargoed, I don't see why security fixes necessarily need to be excluded here or singled out specifically. I do understand the subject can be touchy, but like there's no technical reason not to do this.
Security fixes should be making it into stream. Even the critical and the important ones should be making it into stream right after they're released in RHEL. If they're not, that's a problem that we need to address in the workflow. Okay, if there's an important security fix that goes into current stream RHEL, after it's released in current stream RHEL, it should also be getting released into stream. And if that's not happening, then that's a problem that we need to fix, because that's something that was said was going to happen. If it's older than that, in an AUS or something like that, that's a different thing. But if it's in current stream, in a current rel release, it should be getting into stream.
I think in practice there are cases where it takes a few weeks after rel gets a fix that CentOS stream gets it. And yeah, like I mean, it's definitely raised when that happens, and like, hey, like why is stream not getting updated? But it also is the case that so A, like people who use stream production need the fix right away. And B, like if we have these packages in fast track and we can see like when they get below fast track and when they get retired, we can basically say, hey, now we have empirical data to show like to highlight the issues rather than just, like the issues are scattered over like different JIRAs and like nobody's doing anything because nobody sees the big picture. So this might be part of actually fixing it upstream.
Well, I'm willing to ask in emails if somebody gets me information that says this is taking too long.
Okay.
If it's already released, I'm willing to push that through and ask, why is this taking too long?
We
That'd be cool.
appreciate
Thank you.
Davida, last comment, and then we will move on to Sean's because we are sitting at less than 10 minutes.
We can definitely do that, Johnny. And like, I agree. I think this is a good discussion to do as a follow-up. For what it's worth, in my experience, the main example where like delays happen is when a fix wasn't very good, so the maintainer had to build it in rel, and then they just forget to do the build in stream, or they most commonly they will push the commit to GitLab but then not build it in Koji, or they'll build it but not tag it. So in my experience, we've seen delays that go from weeks to months, and I have occasionally found like the odd package where the maintainer just forgot, and I would file a JIRA and they'd be like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot, and they would do it. So I think there is room for improvement here, and we can definitely get you data around it, but it's probably out of scope for this current discussion here.
Well, I can also do builds if we have to do that, right? If it's in GitLab and it's ready to go, then let me know.
Oh, that's great to hear. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for taking the lead on that, Johnny. We appreciate it. Let's go ahead and move on to Sean's update.
Okay, I can be pretty fast actually. We had an event. You guys know about it. We had a pretty good turnout. It was lower turnout than last year, but we knew that was going in because of travel budgets across the board. But we had a nice turnout with like 127 people actually there. We had a pretty low not show up rate, which is nice. Shows we're getting better at messaging the importance. I hark on this a lot, like please register. So and the videos are up. I just clicked publish on them like 30 minutes before this meeting started, so they are they're live, so you can go view those. We'll set up a social media schedule to post those over the next couple weeks or so. We have a new events page, CentOS.org/events. The idea here is that we can have a landing page for any event that we're either hosting or having a presence at. So there's you can see a landing page at for Scale coming up, where you can like direct people for like, hey, you want to talk to CentOS at Scale? We'll be at this booth, and here are the presentations that we're doing. But then also for events that we're hosting, we can just have good landing pages for them. And then after the events are over, these can be just like link off. You can see the other ones basically link off to recordings of videos and slides and stuff. So it's just a one-stop, easy way to find this information. So I will continue keeping that up to date. Maybe make the listing page a little prettier. It's not that great. Speaking of the Scale thing, we're doing the classroom thing at Scale. So it's a 3-hour thing on the Thursday, which is kind of like the pre-day of Scale. So we're on Thursday afternoon. If you're in, then come join us. I think I'm going to try to book refreshments again, and Carl will do a packaging workshop, which will be super basic to probably everybody sitting in this meeting, but whatever. Come have cookies. And the other thing, so we have talked about doing these virtual events 3 times a year. And I think that puts us in April to do one. May would suck because Summit, Summer's just going to get crazy. I think April looks good. So we did it on a Monday. That seemed to go. I think that was popular when we talked about it before. So I guess my question is, what Monday looks good? What Monday looks bad for people, so I can avoid that in April. My April's actually pretty wide open, so I can do anything.
I've got KubeCon. So
When is KubeCon? I should avoid that.
yes, you should. Please hold. Oh, it's April 1st through the 4th.
Okay, then we'll not do.
And I may PTO after that, but I don't know yet. Troy?
Linux Fest Northwest is April 25th through 27th, which ends on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Monday's sort of the travel day. So 28th would be possible if you're doing a Monday, but I'd prefer not.
Okay.
And Jack's out the Mondays in between.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Does the 7th work, Sean?
Yeah. When did you say? When does KubeCon end, Amy? Ends on the 4th.
I may be on PTO, but y'all are more than happy to run this thing without me.
People should be home by the 7th if they're going to KubeCon.
Unless you're going.
The 7th is the Monday, so people should be back, I would assume.
Unless they're PTOing. But yes, they should be back if they're not.
Cool. All right, I'll set it up for Monday then. I'll set up a CFP and probably launch that. I'll try for next week. I'll be out at face-to-face next week, but I can work at a face-to-face too. Okay, that's all.
All right, we are at 3 minutes left. Do we want to go back to an earlier discussion, do a new discussion, or give everyone back some time? Davida?
I just wanted to bring up that we did some work on the docs. Also at Connect, and that's nice. And I believe Sean even took notes, so we will have a blog post or something at some point.
That's
SIG
true.
Docs is up for a quarterly report.
It is.
So maybe it'll make it into the newsletter. But no, we did a lot of great work that Monday. And thank you again, Davida, for hosting us at the Meta office.
Yeah, it worked well. Hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah.
All right, last 2 minutes. Anything else? Or we'll give people 2 minutes back of their time. This was a really good and productive meeting. All right, all. Thank you for your time.